The mysterious death of Ellen Greenberg. Was it murder? Was it suicide? This is your True Crime with the Sarge adventure. Welcome to a new True Crime with the Sarge adventure. Something is rotten in Denmark, but this time it isn't a Shakespeare play. It's actually Manayunk, Philadelphia. And behind me is 4601 Flat Rock Road, where on the night of January 26, 2011, Ellen Greenberg was found dead in her apartment, number 603 on the 6th floor, right behind me. Now, there have been lots of contention in this case, including a new documentary that's been coming out. And I've been going through all the documents myself. And I've seen some areas of, quite frankly, questionable material. So the night that the death occurred, it was a snowy night. It started around 6 p.m. And it actually ended up being on record one of the worst storms that Philadelphia has actually ever seen. But also, what they didn't realize is that this death investigation is going to go on for 14 years. Initially, it was recorded or certified as a homicide, only to be changed about a month later. And there have been plenty of civil lawsuits now, and we have the medical examiner, who no longer works in Philadelphia, is actually walking back his change. How far will this go? Right now it's in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, so we're going to see exactly what transpires. But the Greenbergs have been fighting for their daughter Ellen now for quite some time. This is called the Manayunk section of Philadelphia, which means a place we go to drink. Just beyond where I'm standing right now is the Schuylkill River, and that's how it got its name. Now, in between this is also the State Turnpike. So there's lots of car traffic and lots of trucks going by. There's a big construction site from where we're dealing with. But when you're talking about nearly 14 years ago, this place looked much different. Looks like it's under new management. It's a different name now, and the colors have been changed and everything else, so it doesn't look exactly like it did on the night in 2011. There are basically two cardinal rules of death investigations. One, you treat every death as if it's suspicious until proven otherwise. That prevents the confirmation bias from happening. Confirmation bias, well, you walk into a scene, it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it walks like a duck, well then it's a duck. And the second cardinal rule is you don't get a second chance to do it right the first time. And when you start to look into this case, or go down the rabbit hole as many people call it, these two cardinal rules have been broken. And what do I mean by that? Well, detectives first initially looked at this as a suicide. Even the death investigator looked at this as a suicide. Only to have the next morning, the medical examiner said it was a homicide, which then sent detectives scrambling. And when they came back, according to a CNN article, guess what? The crime scene had been cleaned. So this is a huge problem, because once again, you don't get a second chance to do it. And here we are today, 14 years later, still talking about this case. According to the autopsy report, Ellen suffered 20 stab wounds from different depths inside her body, in the front, in the neck, and in the back of the head, which is questioned by a lot of people. Now, it is not out of the realm of possibility that someone would try or kill themselves with a knife. However, it's extremely rare, specifically for women. If you look at the statistics from the CDC, it'll tell you that men often choose a more violent means, and women tend to choose not so violent means, which means pills and all the other things that go along with it. And in this case, according to the reports, those pills to help her sleep were already in her possession. So I think that also raises some red flags from a lot of people, including myself. The medical examiner also documented at least 11 bruises on her body in varying degrees of healing. So we don't have an answer to who caused those bruises, or did she do it to herself, We don't know. One of the really weird things about this entire case is that the fiancé, Sam Goldberg, stated to police that the security guard went with him when he forcibly entered the apartment. But that is not the case according to an affidavit written by that security guard, saying that at no time did he go in there and witness this. So people have been talking and pointing to that specifically, that there's something afoot here. We don't know for sure. Investigators are now re-looking at this as per 2 civil lawsuits. So when you read the death investigators' reports, I kind of zoom in on the post-mortem interval, because the death investigator responds about 2 hours after she was pronounced dead, approximately, of course. And what you look at it, it says that the body's mostly flaccid, which means it's starting to go into rigor mortis. The hands are a little stiff. Now, rigor mortis starts in the body all at the same time, but is really noticeable in the face, so that wasn't really discussed in the report. And the other thing that I found interesting is that there was no sign of livor mortis. It says it was inconspicuous. Livor mortis is when the blood lands in the dependent areas of the body. But it says that the body was cool to the touch, but it doesn't talk about taking a core body temperature. Now, we know algor mortis, the temperature, right, of the body when it happens, is not the greatest part of estimated time of death. But when you're looking at this, there are some instances here where we could have tried to narrow down the time when Ellen actually died, but I don't think we can do that from this report. Now, maybe there's more to these reports, or there are additional reports that have this stuff, but we don't know. Now, the crime scene photos that they took were basically only a few that they took at the scene. There was no crime scene unit there. And, you know, that becomes a problem because they don't do a search of the entire house per se. They do mention that there's no signs of struggle and everything like that. But to me, the key to this case is that latch on the door. That is not fully pulled out of the wall, but it shows that there's some stress on it. When did that happen and how did it happen? Are they trying to recreate that? That's something that I'd like to know. Because if you push yourself through the door, there's a good possibility that that would have totally ripped out of the door. I don't know. But this is something that I would be looking into, per se. These are always easy to Monday morning quarterback these cases and saying, should have done this or they should have done that. But if you stick with those cardinal rules, you tend not to have a situation that you're dealing with like you are right now. And I believe that the apartment is that one right up there where the screen is, because that's the only one that could be a 6th floor because it goes down further. But this is the whole complex. It's not that big, but I think this might be the only section where it has the capability of reaching the 6th floor. This is the rear view of those apartments that I had pointed out before. So I believe it would be the one right up there